Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to a review of DraftKings Week 14 and a look at Week 15's picks for this week of NFL. Kind of an interesting week with some Saturday night football going on. As we get into the Christmas season, college football is taking their Saturdays off here a little bit, so the NFL jumps in, so it kind of makes our slate a little bit tighter. So let's kind of review what we did last week. So last week, the main game stack actually came off pretty well. We had Garoppolo to Marquise Goodwin and bring that back with DeAndre Hopkins. And this was a good stack that did very well in cash games, could have done well in GPPs. Everything kind of turned out fairly well here. So Garoppolo, we were looking for 18.4, got us 19.06. Still a little bit unlucky on his touchdown volume. He's getting a lot of yards, not the touchdowns, but still happy with his participation here. Marquise Goodwin coming through. We're looking for 11.7, got us 19.6, was very involved early and often, which is what we were hoping for. And DeAndre Hopkins, kind of the MVP of the week, 19.5 points we were expected, got us 39.9. And you really needed to have him on about any lineup to do a lot of damage. We had him here. It was a good feeling. It was a good week. A little bit of a miss here in the tight end with Austin Seferian-Jenkins looking for 9 points. Got us like one catch for 1 yard for 1.1 points. Went off flow chart here and it bit me. I thought he had a pretty good matchup there. The team just didn't look the same without Josh McCown. They didn't score any points. It was just a bad call. Probably a bad process trying to get a little too low ownership there. Had myself some exposure there that kind of hurt some lineups that did have the Garoppolo stacks, but overall was more on Witten. Witten didn't do a whole lot better. Did hit value at 9 points. Looked for 9 points. Just had the touchdown catch basically that saved this. But again, flow chart kind of comes through. We had some late value open up with Ertz being out, so had a little bit of Trey Burton, who wasn't relative to this discussion when I made this last week. But overall, I was a little disappointed here in the tight ends. As far as the value type wide receivers, Corey Coleman, looking for 10.5, came through with 17.2. Actually beat Josh Gordon's score by just about a point. They were pretty close. Gordon had a good day, but Coleman did have more points than him, which is one reason I wanted to pivot here because his ownership was so much lower and his price was just a little bit lower. So kind of played out as I was hoping. Josh Gordon had a good game, played a little bit of him as well, but really liked Corey Coleman going here in the same spot, obviously, and those targets did even out. They had the exact same number of targets, both got a touchdown. Was really happy with how this played out. And then Michael Crabtree, exceeding value, looking for 13.9, got us 15. Somewhat of an under-the-radar performance, but did do well enough for us. We look to continue the pretty good streak here going into the next week. So let's look at this week. Favorite game stack. Going a little different. Looking at Jared Goff going to Cooper Kupp, bringing it back with Paul Richardson. Now, obviously, Seattle, not normally a defense I'm looking to target, but there's some extenuating circumstances going on I think we've got to pay attention to. So this is a 47.5 point Vegas total with a 2.5 point spread. The Seattle defense is probably going to be without Sherman, Chancellor, Wright, and Wagner. I mean, the whole Legion of Boom is just gone. So this is looking like a depleted secondary, potentially. I mean, some of those guys might play, but they're all either confirmed out or pretty questionable. So that's kind of opening up some things for us here in the passing game. Goff, at the same time, is getting Robert Woods back, one of his favorite targets from early in the season, who's been out for a few games. And so their offense has been humming along here. Now they're going up against a depleted Seattle team, and they get another weapon back. Seattle has been tough against the run this year, but really not so much against the pass. If you look, they've gotten a lot of, 16, 18, 20, 16 points given up to running backs, where they've given up 51, 50, 32, 32, 35 points to wide receivers. So attacking them in the air has been, fruitful. They've obviously had some of these injuries. Now they have more in the secondary. And it's not like Goff and the Rams haven't been playing well. They've been chucking it around. Obviously, Todd Gurley's been a big part of that. Maybe he gets a little more shut down in the run game. They use him more in the passing game. But I think it can open some things up, specifically for Cooper Kupp, who continues to see good target share and may go overlooked. You look at his targets here, 7, 6, 11, 7, 7, 5, 10. I mean, I'll take that consistency. And in that span, only 2 touchdowns. So you got to feel like he's a little bit on the wrong side of variance. He's getting some touchdowns. He's got a couple 100-yard games. But I feel like if Robert Woods takes anyone's targets away, it's going to be from Sammy Watkins. Watkins had that 1-yard touchdown catch last week. which kind of hurt me as a Gurley owner last week from that 1-yard touchdown I was hoping for. So, looking at his box score, Watkins is looking good. I think Cooper Kupp, he, has had a touchdown as well, but I just feel like Cooper Kupp is going to maintain this target share even with the return of Woods, and here we go in a good matchup with the secondary. Now, Paul Richardson, one of my favorite guys to play this year, he's got, really in the last 4 games, has really gotten going on this consistent target share, 7, 4, 7, and 8. So he did have the 1 4-target game, but if you look at a lot of those receivers, he's right there with consistency. You could look at a Lockett. Obviously, Doug Baldwin's always in play, but I just really like Paul Richardson here as somebody to bring it back with. And, Seattle is running their offense through Russell Wilson. They've hopefully kind of given up on this dream of having this run game. Eddie Lacy was like a healthy scratch last week. They've got Mike Davis there. They're going to get him involved a little bit. But with Wilson running this offense, they're just throwing around the yard more. And I feel like the Rams are going to put up points. They're going to have to be thrown because their defense is not doing so well. And who better than Paul Richardson than, to catch a few more of these targets, maybe get in the end zone. And so I could see a shootout emerge, maybe hit the over on that 47.5 and just kind of want some pieces of this game. I mean, I think you could stack this number of different ways. You could get Woods back in there. You could get Lockett in, just depending on who you like. This is kind of the stack that I'm looking at to kind of start with, and we'll see where it goes from there. So let's look at some tight ends. I'm going back to my tried and true method. First of all, Zach Ertz. This is a 40.5-point Vegas total with a 7.5-point spread. So first off, flowchart team. We're going against the New York Giants, who continue to give up points to the tight end position with reckless abandon. We just play tight ends against them, and we print money. That's pretty much what it is. I mean, there's nothing to really think about here. Ertz was in the concussion protocol, missed last week. I think he's going to play this week. In his absence, Trey Burton looked very well, but they've got some complications going on here. He has had double-digit targets 4 times this year. He's been up and down on his targets throughout the year, but he does have those double-digit target upside, and he's really a freak athlete. Now, he gets Foles at QB, who could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. I think he may need a security blanket. There's Ertz, big target, as they always say, getting back in the rhythm here. And, like I said, last week, Trey Burton did very well in Ertz's stead. Caught 2 touchdowns, so obviously they want to use the tight end position in this offense, and now they're going to have to maybe change a few things with Foles, but I don't see the tight end being a problem for him to get the ball to, and so I really like him in the flowchart spot with a quarterback who may need to dump those passes to that tight end. On the other side here, we're going Ben Watson, so this is a 40-point Vegas total with a 7.5-point spread, and we're going against Cleveland, the other flowchart team, and their defense cannot stop giving up points to the tight end. Of all the tight ends that have played Cleveland this year, who get more than 10% of the market share targets on their team, meaning of all the passes that go from their quarterback, they get 10% of the targets, basically tight ends that are involved, they've eclipsed value 77% of the time this season. That's a pretty good, that's pretty good flowchart, aka, right? I mean, 77% of the time we know we're going to eclipse value that we're expecting. So I see nothing that could change here. The Ravens' offense looked pretty good last week to me. Watson was kind of the forgotten man in that. People may be off of him. Obviously, lower ownership in a great spot. I'm willing to, to take that risk. Coming off of a bad game, when I know he's got touchdown and target upside, and he's going against a team that just continues to just forget tight end position and let them score points upon points. So going with 2 flowchart teams this week. It's been very fruitful all year, and I'm not going to go away from it now. And, like I said, his target share has been mixed, but that upside to reach value, his price is pretty reasonable compared to Ertz. And so, like I said, he's got the 1, 5, 3, 3, 1, 10 targets. But, again, he's got that upside to get 10 targets. And if he's going to be open, who's to say he couldn't get that and maybe get into the end zone? So let's look at some value wide receivers. And I'm saying value, again, not necessarily in that they're super cheap, but just for their price, I think they're going to exceed this value. So Devin Funchess is first on my list. We've got a 47-point Vegas total with a 2.5-point spread, and this game total is now just moving right up. Aaron Rodgers is coming back on the other side of the ball. The Panthers have been playing pretty well on offense. Now, hopefully Green Bay can improve their scoring total, which obviously the game total is suggesting that. We could have ourselves a shootout. I don't think the pricing is set up for that. So Funchess has consistent targets, and he keeps performing. I mean, look at these targets: 7, 7, 12, 6, 7, 6, 8. I mean, 9, 8, 9, 10. Just beautifully consistent. 2 touchdown upside. He's had 2 touchdowns in 2 different games. Has just been a very solid play that I don't feel like is getting enough discussion. And like I said, they're hitting their stride with Cam. Green Bay just gave up 21 points to Cleveland, right? Gordon and Coleman, as I talked about, both had touchdowns. Now, that is an inept offense for most of the time. And here's a defense that actually gave up 3 touchdowns to them, 2 of them to their star wide receivers that we wanted to target. I see no reason why we shouldn't play Funchess here in a game that could be going back and forth with a defense who just continues to give up points to the position. I'm also looking at D.D. Westbrook here for Jacksonville. So this is a 39-point Vegas total with an 11.5-point spread. So Jacksonville, big favorite. But the Houston defense has been a great place to target since their injuries. Again, here's the amount of points they've given up to their opponent: 26, 24, 23, 23, 21. More as we go back there. Pretty consistently, they're giving up a decent amount of points to their opponents. And I want to target that. Now, Westbrook himself, his targets continue to stay consistent since he's got going. 6, 10, 9, 8. Did have a touchdown last week. And, he's talked a big game. He has got some game. I mean, this kid is a freak athlete. And, I see no reason why he can't hit his first 100-yard game. Maybe have, another touchdown game here against this weak defense. They've had all these injuries. It's just somewhere I want to target. And Bortles does seem to be able to play well against these poor defenses, whether it's, Indianapolis, whether it's San Francisco. This is just where he plays well. And now he gets Houston, and, I just think it's going to be a good spot for this offense. I don't have a problem playing Marquise Lee or any of the other receivers, Keelan Cole. But D.D. Westbrook is just who I think has some supreme talent and is getting consistent target share that I want to kind of feel safe with, but it still have some good upside. And, really, again, you look at that. He's yet to have big breakout, 2-touchdown, 150-yard game, anything like that. Not saying he's definitely going to have something like that, but this would be a great spot to take advantage of this defense and somewhere where I want to have some market share of D.D. Westbrook in my lineups. So that's it. Good luck to everybody in Week 15. Hopefully, if you're playing out there, you can have a good weekend, make some money, be exciting. We're leading up to Christmas, like I said, with Saturday Night Football, so enjoy the multiple nights of football if you're playing multiple slates. Appreciate everybody going through my picks with me this week. We'll be back here next week reviewing my Week 15 picks, looking at Week 16. Until then, we'll see you guys later.